Hey, y'all, want to connect with you today and talk a little bit about the type of businesses that you're building. A lot of times we don't think really deeply about that. When we start a business, it's about creating revenue. But when your business grows, and better to learn early on this than not, you need to make a determination of what happens in, and I won't call it necessarily a crisis, but what happens when decisions have to be made, hard decisions have to be made. Before I dive into that, I want to remind you that we've talked through the IMTVV, and that's the foundation model for your business, for your people, and for your business. So you should have gone through those processes of creating the who, what, when, where, why for not only each individual, preferably in your entire business, but at least in your leadership model. And then diving into those same concepts for your business itself. Usually we do that in reverse or don't do the people side at all, but that's really what we're talking about is having a people leadership focus here. Making sure that we're addressing the whole person, the person at the center of this whole thing, which is you. So with that being said, I want to dive into the types of businesses. Now, most people who have MBAs or have gone to business school or business leadership will understand these three concepts. A stakeholder business, a customer service oriented business, customer first business, or a people first business. All three of those types are great considerations, but there definitely tends to be there tends to be an order of priority, should I say. Now, like I said, every day we go to work, and our intention is to make a profit. Even a nonprofit might not be making a profit, but they're making revenue. So let's correct that. We're making revenue. What we do with that revenue might be based on our profit status. But we're here to make revenue, build a business, build revenue, build our families, right? That's ultimately the goal, and make the world a better place for that. We went through probably millennia with this idea of a stakeholder business, meaning that there are investors in our business that we have to satisfy. Every public company, has to do a quarterly report and satisfy those investors, and it's all revenue driven. It's all profit driven in many of those cases. Nonprofits have boards making sure that they're accomplishing their tasks. Still, a lot of times, stakeholder driven. And when I say stakeholder driven, basically what that means is that the leadership team is responsible primarily to the stakeholder. And when decisions get hard, crisis happens, things like that, a decision has to be made that is for the profitability of the company, the survivability of the company, if you want to call it that, but primarily the profitability of the company and the revenue. It's driven that way. That's what the stakeholders want. That's why they're invested in you. But I want to challenge that on a couple of other fronts. There are those that have come before us who have put customer service as a focus. And what you see in those scenarios is when crisis hits, they focus on decisions that empower their customers. And in a very large majority of the time, their survivability stands through these crises, and they're better off because they've taken care of their customers, and they haven't abandoned them for the sake of profitability. I would, in my opinion, put that at a higher echelon of business type than I would a stakeholder-driven business. In a public marketplace, trading and everything else, where you have an investor stakeholder board or a huge investor base for your business because it's traded on the public market. This is a hard decision to make. Your leadership has to be willing to take the darts thrown at them by the investors, and the investors need to be willing to buy into this idea of being a customer first oriented business. So With that, I'll get to the third one, and that is the people first business. See, the thing about a people first business, and I want to drive back to something that we talked about in the IMTV V. The last V in IMTVV is values. And when we develop our values and when we run our companies by our values, that drives the behaviors that we as people do, which in turn drive the results. We've talked about this, right? Similarly, when we are a people first business, that drives our customer oriented service, which in turn drives our revenue. So what you see is this foundation, and I'm going to reiterate that word over and over and over. We're getting down to the foundation. We're peeling back the layers of the onion and getting down to the foundation to understand our businesses and how they run and why they run well when we take these deeper steps to focus on our people and our values. So I challenge you today to become a people first organization. And this isn't people first when it's convenient, okay? This isn't how we treat our people when they exit, but treat them differently when they're there. This is a value-based, people-oriented mindset where you are focusing in on your people, you are focusing in on the values that your people bring to the table, and the values that you want exposed to the world by your organization. And if you holistically drive into those two things, your people will drive a customer-oriented focus and the profit will result. And your values will drive the behaviors that get those results. So with that, I leave it to you. Have a great day. We'll talk to you later.